Hello everyone and welcome to the Active Lives Adult Survey presentation on the most recent release of the Active Lives Survey. So when we look at volunteering, volunteering levels have decreased in the last 12 months by 1%, which is roughly 400,000 people. So it's gone from 14.9% nationally to 13.9%. So we look at what this means for Greater Manchester. We're currently at 13.4%, but there are 4 boroughs across Greater Manchester that are higher than the national volunteering level. So Bolton's at 16.5%, Rochdale, Tameside and Trafford are all higher than the national 13.9% of volunteers. And the volunteer levels range from the 11.5% in Bury to the 16.5% in Bolton, and there's been a significant decrease in volunteers both in Stockport and in Oldham. So what does this mean for wellbeing, individual and community development? Volunteering is positively linked with mental wellbeing. Across all of the 4 measures of mental wellbeing, those who volunteered at least twice in the last 12 months reported better outcomes than those who didn't. When we look at social trust, when people were asked the question, most people in your local area can be trusted, when they gave scores out of 5, those who had volunteered on average gave it 3.5 out of 5, whereas those who hadn't gave it a 3.3 out of 5. So volunteering is positively linked with individual and community development as well, which we'll go on to see on the next slide. So people who take part and volunteer have even higher scores across all of the outcome measures. So when we just look at the 3 graphs at the bottom, the first 2 are around self-efficacy. So I can achieve most of the goals I set myself, and if I find something difficult, I keep trying until I can do it. Those who are both active and volunteer score higher out of 5 than those who either just volunteer, are just active, or do neither of those things. And then again, you can see at the graph at the end, most people in your local area can be trusted agreement. Those people who volunteered but aren't active scored as high as those who were active and volunteered. So Sport England have released a spotlight on volunteering based by gender. These next few slides are just pulled from their document. So as you can see across the bottom, it's broken down into male and female levels of volunteering among the different kind of volunteering categories. So you've got refereed, umpired and officiated at one end and providing any other help on the other. As you can see, there's a gap in volunteering between males and females, with females being higher at volunteering with the raising funds and providing other help, but males being higher in all of the volunteer areas. This document's great for breaking down kind of what's driving the current trends. So some conversation around, is it knowledge and experience? Some of the volunteer roles require more knowledge and experience than others, so is there a time factor involved as to why people are volunteering? Is it a participation thing? Are there less women who volunteer because there have been less women that have taken part in sport and physical activity? And are there some cultural barriers as well? So this report breaks down into 3 different life stages. The first life stage being students. This is the only life stage where the trend is not the same, it's different. So you can see within the coached or instructed, 58% of females have coached or instructed and 60% of males. So the gap is a lot closer with that area of volunteering than it is throughout the rest of the life course. The second life stage is families. In the same way that having children can impact an adult's activity levels, men and women who have children are more likely to volunteer to support sport and physical activity, but the ways that they volunteer are likely to be different. So instead of coaching and volunteering, they're more likely to provide transport than those without dependent children. They're less likely to carry out administrative or committee roles. This just kind of shows that family can act as both an enabler and a barrier to volunteering. Having children can mean that we volunteer more, or it can mean that we're unable to because of time and various other things that happen. So the third life stage is retirement. So this data reveals that 12% of retired adults volunteered twice in the last 12 months. with refereeing having the biggest gender difference at retirement age. Only 8% of women referee compared to 20% of men. The likelihood of men volunteering in a stewarding role is the same for adults overall and those who are retired, whereas for female volunteers who have retired, we see a decrease at this life stage. This is when we see some of the most extreme differences between men and women, and it's also where they're more likely to volunteer for religious organisations or arts and social clubs than for sports clubs. In conclusion, the information in this report shows that men and women make a huge contribution to sport and physical activity through volunteering. However, it's also identified that men and women are more likely to carry out certain roles than others, and this likelihood is affected by their current life stage. While there will be loads of differences within these two genders, identifying broad patterns between men and women can unlock how we encourage more women to volunteer and consequently improve the diversity and representativeness of the sector overall.